Hey everybody, all hail the king, Black Panther is out, and it's one of the best, if not the best, Marvel solo movie ever made. Marvel has been teasing Wakanda ever since this shield map in Iron Man 2 way back in 2010, and the movie was worth the wait. You can read Matt Singer's full review over at ScreenCrush.com, but for now, let's go over all the teeny tiny details you might have missed. The movie opens with Wakanda's origin story told with the same sand replicating technology we see throughout the film. We're told that the people worship the cat god Bast, who exists in the comics and was a real Egyptian god. Well, real to the ancient Egyptians at least. Later, M'Baku invokes the name of the white gorilla god Hanuman. Hanuman is also worshipped in India, but he's not a huge white gorilla. The prologue of the movie begins in Oakland, where the real-life Black Panther movement began. Here's a fun fact for you. Black Panther, the comic book character, is actually 3 months older than the Black Panther Party. N'Jobu has a Public Enemy poster on his wall. I wonder if he's a fan of the song Raw Shit, when MC Ren declares, "But the villain is back with the Black Panther of rap." And here's where we get a big departure from the comics. In the source material, T'Chaka's brother Sayan was an honorable man, who served as king until T'Challa came of age. N'Jobu is a new character created just for the film. There's maybe a reference to the original character when you see his ally, Ulysses Claw, wearing a necklace made of 2 metal squares. These look a lot like Sayan's signature earrings from the comics. The vibranium canister T'Chaka finds is the same design that Claw had in Age of Ultron. You might have noticed that young T'Chaka looked a lot like his older self. Well, it's not because of creepy de-aging software, but because young T'Chaka is actually played by Atandwa Kani, the son of present-day T'Chaka actor John Kani. And, oddly enough, the younger version of Zuri, Forrest Whitaker's character, is played by Denzel Whitaker, but no relation. Lupita Nyong'o is Nakia, who in the comics has an unrequited crush on T'Challa and becomes a pretty badass villain. There's no hint of that in here, but I like that she's a spy and not just another member of the Dora Milaje. And in a final bit of casting trivia, both Michael B. Jordan and Chadwick Boseman played the character Reggie Montgomery on All My Children. Early in the movie, we have our obligatory Marvel heroes jumping out of planes scene. In the background, we see that Baron Zemo is being charged with the bombing from Civil War, meaning that legally, Bucky is off the hook. One of the things this movie does best is create a vibrant world that feels real. Wakanda mixes science fiction with a lived-in African aesthetic. Production designer Hannah Beachler said that her design was influenced by the movie Blade Runner. Then we get to the tribal challenge at Warrior Falls. T'Challa fights M'Baku, who thankfully doesn't have the same name as his comic book alter ego, Manape. However, he does wear the mask and fur of the white gorilla his tribe worships. And I also love that M'Baku's defeated by a tap-out. So let's talk about the heart-shaped herb. Moviegoers might watch the film and wonder, well, why doesn't everybody in Wakanda eat the herb and gain super strength? And that's a good point. In the comics, the herb is poison, but members of the royal family slowly build up a tolerance to its effects. T'Challa visits his ancestors in the spirit plane, which, intentionally or not, is visually very similar to this scene in The Lion King when Simba speaks with the spirit of his father. T'Challa's sister Shuri is kind of like the Q of the film, creating gadgets for her older brother. Her lab is Mount Bashinga, which is named after the first Black Panther from more than 10,000 years ago. And when she says, "What are those?" it's a reference to this vine.
What are those?
She tells T'Challa that his new boots are inspired by that really old movie Baba used to watch, probably referencing Back to the Future too. I hope she's also working on a hoverboard. The movie also does a great job of integrating the Marvel Cinematic Universe with light touches that don't take over the plot. Like when Shuri says, "You've brought me another white boy to fix," we know exactly who she's talking about, and if you don't, it doesn't matter. Everett Ross is a longtime State Department attaché to T'Challa in the comics. Now he's a CIA operative who happens to be a badass pilot. I'm glad they found a way to Commissioner Gordon him in the third act. When he wakes up, Shuri tells him that he's in Kansas. It's a cute reference to The Wizard of Oz. By the way, I love how separate this technology is from the rest of the MCU. And what I mean by that is up until now, there have been little connections between the films, like Hydra's ray guns sounding like Tony's repulsor rays. Because Wakanda is an isolationist nation, nothing like their tech has ever been seen in the world at large. But maybe that's about to change. Black Panther's new suit forms from his necklace, similar to Tony Stark's bleeding edge armor from the comic books. In the Infinity War trailer, you can see Tony's armor forming from nanoparticles in a very similar way. At the end of Black Panther, Wakanda has decided to share their technology with the world. and Tony's new armor might be an example of that. There's a long tracking shot in the casino fight scene reminiscent of this long tracking shot in director Ryan Coogler's Creed. He worked with cinematographer Rachel Morrison on Fruitvale Station, where they created a much less intense tracking shot in a grocery store. Just like in the comics, Claw now has a fake arm. But in the comics, he's also an immortal being composed of solid sound. I'd say the movie found a pretty good middle ground. Now on to Killmonger, who is a huge improvement over the bland Marvel villains of the past and over his counterpart in the source material. In the comics, Killmonger's family was killed by Claw, but he blames T'Challa for some reason. It works much better in the movie, where he has a personal connection to the king and stronger reasons for wanting the throne. The mask that he wears when breaking Claw out of jail is straight from the comic books. He also has a pet cheetah in the comics called Prey, with 2 eyes, who isn't in the film. However, his panther mask has spots, so this might be a reference to his longtime companion. Killmonger defeating T'Challa and throwing him off the cataract is one of the most iconic images in Black Panther comics. So if you're a fan of these books, this was Chekhov's waterfall. You knew something bad was going to happen here eventually. T'Challa's first tribal challenge happens in the morning sun at the dawn of a new Wakanda. When Killmonger defeats him, it's at sunset, symbolizing the downfall of his nation. After he becomes king, Killmonger says the sun will never set on the Wakandan Empire. This is a spin on a phrase that normally refers to the British Empire, who colonized most of Africa. During the last battle, T'Challa puts a rhino in a headlock, a reference to this panel from the classic comic story Panther's Rage. Also, the spear that Killmonger holds is modeled on M'Baku's spear from the comic books. And this isn't really an intentional Easter egg, but I wanted to point out that Shuri's Panther gauntlets look a lot like the Thunder Tank from Thundercats. And also look, they're for sale, but isn't everything? Also in the last fight, W'Kabi's arm is injured. This could be a reference to the metal prosthetic arm he has in the comics. In the climax of the film, T'Challa actually beats Killmonger, which he's never been able to do in the comics without some last-minute interference from an ally. Back on the Oakland playground, one of the kids playing ball is Alex Hibbert, who played Little in Moonlight. It's hard to hear what the kids say when they see the Wakandan ship, but I think one of them says it's a Jabari spaceship. This could be an adorable mispronunciation of Chitauri spaceship, the aliens who invaded New York in the Avengers. In the final post-credit scene, we see that Bucky has been healed, and the children call him the White Wolf. There is a White Wolf in the comics. He's T'Challa's adopted brother and leader of the Hatut Zazari, the Wakandan secret police. Given Bucky's background in espionage, it's an appropriate nickname. That's all the Easter eggs that we found. Don't forget to subscribe, and please let us know in the comments what you thought of the movie. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Arey.